Welcome! I'm Dr. Gordon Saxe, and today we're going to be talking about the power of balance. We often hear about the importance of balance in terms of a balanced diet, a balanced demeanor, a balanced life. And yet, when we look at ourselves, it can be a great challenge to understand our own unique balance or to determine how to restore it. So today's program is designed to make it easier to intuit our own balance, to recognize when we're out of whack, and then to discover how to restore balance and, ultimately, our health and well-being. We'll need to start by better defining balance, by looking at the opposite of balance, extremes. I love to play with numbers, so to better exemplify the way that extremes can work against us, I'd like to use a mathematical analogy. So, take any two numbers that add up to 10 and multiply them together. Let's take the two numbers that are literally in the middle, 5 and 5. 5 plus 5 equals 10. Multiply them together and you get 25. The next two numbers, a bit further off-center, are 6 and 4. 6 and 4 equals 10. Multiply them together, their product is 24, less than 25. 7 and 3 equals 10. Multiplied, 21. And as you move further and further away from the center to numbers at opposite ends of the spectrum, ultimately 9 and 1 or 10 and 0, you end up with little or none. This is a great way to remember that the product of remaining in the center, in balance, will always produce the highest value in your life. Health can be seen as a state of dynamic balance between our internal and external environments. The external environment around us is always changing. In response, we're called upon to make constant changes in our inner environment. We strike a balance between what we take in, what we utilize to maintain our body, mind, and spirit, and what we discharge or give back to the environment. The closer we come to taking in what we need at a given moment, and not less, not more, the less disease-producing toxic excess will accumulate within us, the smoother will be that which we eliminate, and the more we will experience robust health and freedom from disease. Given this, when an illness develops, the surest path back to health is to begin to restore balance and reverse the process. If toxic excess has already developed within us and led to the formation of too much fat tissue, atherosclerotic plaque in our arteries, a cyst, or even a tumor, then the first step back to health naturally involves aligning what we take in with what the body, mind, and spirit really need for optimal functioning. Sometimes that's all we need to do. The body will naturally cleanse itself of accumulated excess, and the disease processes will melt away. When diseases are more deeply rooted, more than that may need to be done, and this may include therapeutic exercise, cleansing or building herbs, acupuncture, massage, or possibly even medication or surgery. But in all cases, the first step needs to be restoring balance between what we take in, what we need, and not continuing to feed the disease. Interestingly, traditional healing systems have long considered balance, or its restoration, as essential to health and healing. Chinese medicine, one of the oldest healing systems on the planet, sees health as a balance between yin and yang, cosmological forces. It maintains that the prevention and treatment of illness requires the balancing of yin and yang within a person. Ayurvedic medicine, the traditional healing system of ancient India, sees health as resulting from a balance between vata, pitta, and kapha, the three doshas or bioenergies that circulate within the body. It maintains that the prevention and treatment of illness is achieved by balancing the three doshas. Ancient Greek medicine, the medicine of Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, saw health as a balance between the purity of the four humors, the metabolic agents of the four elements, which were air, fire, water, and earth in the human body. Many traditional healing systems, Chinese, Indian, Tibetan, Greek, Native American, Kabbalah, which is the mystical branch of Judaism, all of these utilized medicine wheels that describe the process of change and were used to better understand how to make balance with the seasons, time of day, given a person's activities, their age, constitution, condition of their vital organs, their disease states. One of the best described is the 5 elements of classical Chinese medicine. The elements included fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. It was said that out of fire comes ash, which creates the earth. The earth condenses to form metal. Metal dissolves in water. Water feeds the growth of wood and trees. Wood is consumed by fire, and then the cycle repeats itself. Each element described a season of the year, corresponding organs of the body, associated symptoms, tastes, and healing foods. These traditional systems also recognized and described patterns of disharmony in health. A particular state of imbalance could result in many corresponding signs or symptoms that Western physicians wouldn't necessarily connect, but that an experienced Chinese practitioner might. For example, Chinese medicine would link problems in the liver with the quickness to anger, a preference for the sour taste, and visual problems. This pattern of disharmony might be more likely to develop in the spring, perhaps after a long winter of eating few cleansing vegetables and more warming fatty foods during the just completed winter. And what foods would help this problem? Early spring greens, scallions, and other upward shooting foods that could cut through the fat that's clogging the liver and the liver energy and allow it to flow more freely. These traditional systems offered a different way of looking at health and illness than Western medicine. It was more of a bird's eye view than a microscopic perspective, and one that connected things rather than dissecting or separating things into smaller parts for analysis. And these systems reflected a great deal of wisdom and understanding and gave us healing arts such as acupuncture, meditation, diet, and nutrition based on principles of balance, yoga, tai chi, herbology, and others. While Western allopathic medicine excels at acute and emergency care, it's ill-equipped to address the tidal wave of chronic disease that's engulfing the system. Interestingly, these traditional systems are strong where Western medicine is weak, in fostering restoration of balance, in prevention, wellness, and recovery from illness, particularly with chronic disease states. So now, let's look at how we can use food as a tool to create balance. Appreciation of balance is part art and part science. It requires both intuition and intellect. And I would suggest that balance on the plate translates to balance in the body. Therefore, it's important to use foods from each of the staple food groups, whole grains, vegetables, beans and legumes, and fruit. To emphasize foods with different colors, flavors, tastes, and textures, and use a variety of methods of preparation: baking, steaming, sautéing, pressure cooking, boiling, pickling, fermenting, and even some foods having them raw. It's also important to eat according to our needs, realizing that each of us is different. A young male athlete has very different needs than, say, a sedentary older woman. And it's important to eat in balance with the seasons. This is much easier if we eat what grows locally. It also helps to do what I call following the sap. The sap is kind of like the blood of a plant. It's life energy. In the winter, where is the sap? It's underground in the roots. So in the winter, we cook and eat more roots to stay warm and well-nourished. In the summer, where's the sap? It's above ground. It's out in the leaves and the fruit. So in summer, we keep cool by eating more raw salads, lightly cooked summer vegetables, or raw fruit. When we adopt a cleansing, whole food, plant-based diet, old stored up toxic excesses in the body tend to clear out, sometimes right away, other times weeks or even months down the road. This is an excellent sign, and it shows that we're healing and that the body has the power to expel these things. And it's a sign that we're moving toward greater balance. However, if or when it occurs, it can result in signs and symptoms we need to be aware of and to be able to distinguish from similar signs and symptoms that are indicative of poor health. During your internal cleansing, for example, the bowel movement may temporarily be poorly formed. It may be tarry, dark, foul-smelling. You may notice that your urine has become darkly colored, the stream is weaker, or that there may be pain or straining. You may also clear lots of mucus from your lungs, or your breathing may be shallow. There may be a foul body odor coming out, or bad breath. You may develop unusual rashes or skin eruptions. Or old kidney or gallbladder stones may begin to melt and become small enough to pass. And they could get stuck in the ureter, which could cause pain and distress if and when it occurs. Sometimes there's no way out but through. Now, Dr. Sherry Rogers, a physician who uses a whole food plant-based diet as part of her approach to patients, those with environmental illnesses, related a story, an interesting story of a patient, a hairdresser, who had been exposed for years to hair dyes. This patient regularly came in contact with the synthetic dyes that she rubbed into her client's hair. After adopting a whole food plant-based diet, the patient noticed splotchy discoloration of her neck, her torso, arms, and legs, similar in color to the dyes she had been constantly exposed to. Eventually, however, the discoloration cleared and the underlying skin became healthy. So, how can we distinguish whether symptoms we experience are signs of a healthy cleansing process, things from inside that are finally being released, or symptoms of ill health? The context in which they occur is critical. If we're confident that we're in the midst of healthy changes and these unusual symptoms are occurring at the same time as we're noticing otherwise health improvement, it's more likely, but not guaranteed, that we're experiencing a process of healthy discharge. It's also important to keep in mind that some symptoms can also be signs of withdrawal from an addiction. I had a doozer of a headache several years ago for almost a week when I quit my then 2-cup-a-day coffee habit. Unusual symptoms won't necessarily develop, but it's important to be aware that they can. If they do, most of the time, nothing needs to be done and they'll clear up spontaneously. However, it's important to know if and when to see a healthcare provider. If you've changed your diet because of a serious illness, you may not want to watchfully wait for as long as you might if you're healthy. Also, if you're regularly taking certain medications, such as blood pressure lowering pills or drugs for diabetes, your new diet and lifestyle may improve those conditions, but so much on its own that your blood pressure or your blood sugar may unexpectedly drop. You may become over-medicated. So it's important to communicate openly and frankly with your physician about what you're doing. But while there is a time and a place for healthcare professionals, that doesn't mean that you should abdicate responsibility to them for all aspects of your healthcare. Ultimately, it's up to each of us to take charge of our own health. You are the artist of your life. What's the missing color? What's the missing flavor or taste or food or cooking method that you need to draw from your palate or from your pantry? To get oriented, you'll probably need the help of teachers, recipes, and sample meals. Eventually, however, you'll get to the point where you can reflect, listen to what your body needs, and artistically satisfy yourself in a healthy and creative way using what you have at hand. It's important that we follow our instincts and listen to our bodies because our cravings generally tell us what we're in need of. For example, if you're craving something salty, you may need some trace minerals, and you may want to try some seaweed. If you're craving something sweet, it may be that you need to raise your blood sugar, something that might be better resolved with some sweet squash or an apple than with a candy bar. It's very important to distinguish what we're addicted to from something that's missing that meets a deeper need. Sugar, white flour, meat, caffeine, fat, salt, and dairy products all have addictive qualities. If what you're craving is healthy, then you can generally assume that that's what you need and that you can indulge that craving. Over time, cravings for old, addictive foods will gradually disappear and be replaced by a deep satisfaction and enjoyment of healthy foods. And that, my friends, is the essence of balance.